Welcome to this short video which is outlining the task 1 from the Cadenza challenge in 2023. This task is all about listening over headphones and involves demixing and remixing music for people with a hearing loss. Because Cadenza is all about running challenges, signal processing challenges to try and improve music for people who have a hearing loss. So what you have in this baseline system is you have, obviously we have to start with music. There's a variety of music databases that the Cadenza project will be providing for you. But we also need to know what the hearing loss is like, so we have to pluck out a listener and their hearing abilities in terms of an audiogram. So when we try and deal with people with a hearing loss, it has to be personalised. So we have to actually, in doing the processing, allow for the hearing abilities of the individual. Hence all these dashed lines are actually information about the hearing abilities of the individual, which you can use to change how you demix and remix your different systems. Now, why have we set this task up as a demixing, remixing task? The reason is we know from other work in, say, TV sound, that actually having access to separate bits of the audio allows you to do interesting things to help people with a hearing loss. So, for example, in the work that we did on TV sound, having access to the dialogue separately and things like sound effects separately allows you to change the mix and the balance. And therefore you can decide which bits are most important in music to preserve for people with a hearing loss and which bits need altering. And that can be changing levels, but it could also be changing the frequency response, all different things. So we've set this up as a demixing, remixing task because that gives us access to separate stems that allow us then to do interesting thing in the remixing. So essentially when we talk about headphone task, the headphone is this green box here that is labelled enhancement. So you'll get a stereo music track and then you'll have to demix it. And the representation of the demixing is vocals, drums, bass, other, because that's a standard format that people use in demixing tasks. And we're hoping people who worked on other demixing tasks, but not for people with a hearing loss, will participate. So we wanted to use the same format. Now, when you do a demixing task, you classically look at how well it's demixed compared to the ground truth, which is what's coming from the music database as well. Now, normally this block might be something like a signal to distortion ratio, but we're using a different metric here ourselves. We're using HACI, Hearing Aid Audio Quality Index, which is looking at things like distortion, but allowing for the different hearing abilities of the listener. Now, of course, you don't have to use HACI here, but we will when we come to do the evaluation of the systems. Once you've got the VDBO, you can then go for a remixing task. You could just add the signals together with original levels, but this is the chance to exploit the fact that we have these different channels, different tracks, and actually change the mix to work better for people with a hearing loss. And that remixed version in stereo coming out of the headphones then goes to a listening panel who then will actually rate it for audio quality. This is all about audio quality. So what we're looking at is people listening out for whether there's artifacts, whether it sounds muffled, whether it sounds clear, all sorts of kind of things like that. And there'll be a question from our listener panel about what's the audio quality. And we're not really interested here in music preference. We're trying to avoid that. We're looking at actual reproduction quality. Now, there might be some people listening to this thinking, well, I've got a way of actually improving how headphones work for people with a hearing loss, but I don't need to demix and remix, so why do I have to use this structure? Well, you don't have to. We will also allow entries for people who just completely replace this green box with whatever signal processing, machine learning you fancy using, and giving us stereo signals. At that point, we won't have the HACI scores, and we'll be just sending samples straight to the listening panel. And when we look at sending to the listening panel, we have limited capacity. We have a limited number of listening samples we can do. Hopefully every entrant will get listened to, but we'll have a process to actually evaluate which are the best ones to kind of go through. And some of that evaluation is, for those who do use HACI, is going to be about looking at what scores you achieve there. So this challenge is launching, full launches on 1st of March 2023. I hope you can compete with a deadline out in July, because it'd be brilliant if we could improve music for people with a hearing loss, because music is so important to being human and it's so useful for boosting health and well-being.